Good morning. I'm Ann Preston, a member of North End Gallery and a very happy participant in Leonardtown's wonderful class that I'm able to offer in watercolor. The supplies that we will need today, if you are interested in joining, are the paints, and you can use any colors. That's the joy of what we're going to do today. And salt, and I'm going to use alcohol, and I'm going to use skewers, of course, paper and brushes. The one thing that I didn't mention last time that I think we'll need, that I will be using, it's transfer paper. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. The first thing I do is come up with a very, very careful sketch of what I think I want to do. And today we're going to do buoys if you're interested in joining me. There was a sketch online, and if you want to do that. The reason I'm doing buoys is because you can use whatever colors you want. We can add lots of texturing, and if the drawing isn't quite perfect, it doesn't matter. They are buoys that have been in the water. Let's think about that. So they've been bounced around and so on. So the next thing, after I get my careful drawing done, then I have to transfer it onto my watercolor paper. I have transfer paper here, and you can buy it. I think you can get it places like Michael's. You can also get it online at various art supply chains. I use Cheap Joe's, but there are so many other ones to find it. The watercolor paper that I use, the transfer paper that I used is very dark, and I did that so that you could see the outline. I would suggest, however, you use some that's not quite as dark. If you do not have transfer paper, I'll show you what else you can do. So with the transfer paper, I just taped it down really with just the tape that you can buy at the frog tape that you use for painting a room. And then you can just transfer your design onto your paper. Makes it so much easier once you have your design. You can see what it looks like. Now, if you don't have transfer paper, but you're still interested in doing it, you can just use a pencil and put it on the back of your piece and just do this, and then you can do the same sort of thing. It will mark. You can see it, and that was just with pencil, and it worked. So you do not have to get the transfer paper. Now, when I come up with the design, then the next thing I do is choose a color, my colors that I'm going to use. For this project, I decided to use these. The colors I'm going to use are phthalo blue, aurelia, sap green, sea green, cadmium red, indigo, quinacridone burnt scarlet, and yellow ochre. No, you do not have to use any of the colors that I used. Use what is available to you and whatever sounds good that you're interested in using. Okay, so let's say we have our design. So here we are, we have our design. Now, you will see that I have used entirely different colors for this one, and I haven't finished this one at all, and actually I'm not going to use this one today. But it has very different colors so I'm just showing you that you can use whatever you choose. When I first started, I was very careful about picking my colors, and I really tried to stay with the color wheel and do something like, well, this is alizarin crimson, and this is cadmium lemon, and what's this one? Phthalo blue. So I would try to stay in that quadrant or within, so that they were matching and complementary to each other. But I've since veered from that. I don't follow it so much anymore. So now I just use whatever I feel like using and whatever pleases me. Okay, so now we're going to start some actual painting, and I have a variety of things that I want to show you today. One of them is, we're going to start with these little red guys. I don't know if you saw this one. So I'm going to make them red. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is, I'm sorry. You're supposed to have a focal point always, and I've decided this is going to be my focal point. It's not set up exactly the way you're supposed to. Really, the focal points should be, if you have a painting, you should have, if you were to divide it like that, the focal point should be in one of those 4 spots. You don't want it generally plunked right in the middle. I did sort of get this one plunked right in the middle, but oh well, so be it. I think it'll be all right. But it is my focal point, and everything will kind of revolve around that one. Okay, so we're going to use this red mainly, and this red, this is the quinacridone, and we're going to use these. I'm going to use that one to shade a little bit. So right now, I just painted this one, and I used the dark here and the light here. And the reason I'm using the light is because I'm going to pretend that the light is coming from this direction. So everything on this side would be a bit lighter and this would be a bit darker, just to show shading, which will also help show the shape of everything. Now that I did that, I can't do these because that's the thing about watercolor. They will run into each other. So now I'm going to have to go and do something else. This one, I'm going to use this one next, and I'm going to use a salt to give it a little texture, a little interest. I'm going to use the sea green to give it a little shape. So I'll go over here and get that one too. And so we'll put that in there. And this is wet into wet, so we're just going to draw that out a little bit. Sometimes you don't even have to do that. Sometimes you can just but don't forget, the light is coming from over here, so we will lighten it over here before I add my salt. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little salt on there, and that'll be enough, I think. Now, sometimes you sprinkle the salt on and it will turn little specks of white, and sometimes it'll just make it darker. So we're going to see what happens this time. Okay, now this next one I'm going to do is this one, and I'm going to use the phthalo. I'm going to lighten it a little bit, and we're going to paint it, and then I'm going to blot it. That was one of the other ones that we experimented with last week, blotting. So we'll pick up some of the color. Now on this side, I'm going to make it a little darker. I will add a little phthalo, a little indigo to add to the shading. Okay. Just let it run, and then of course we have to pick this side up a little bit. Now we'll try some blotting. We'll see if it makes it look a little old. Okay, we'll leave that. And now we're going to go to one of my favorite things to do is the rope.